So today's agenda will be the following: living in an uncertain environment, as we all know. There's a lot of talk about recession. Some people believe it is already here, some people believe it is inevitable, and others are not really so sure. Or they think that some countries will see recession, but our country will be immune. I don't know. And therefore, in today's context, is PMP even relevant, or what else is relevant, and what do project managers do in this situation? And then we'll have some time for Q&A. That will be the agenda for today. Before I go to the topic proper, uncertainty and so on, let me give a quick intro as to who I am. I'll try to make it quick because we only have an hour. This is me. Of course, I'm not dressed like this at the moment, but I have about 29 years of experience. I have joined the workforce in 1993. 23 of those years I've spent in management positions. I always enjoyed the management side a bit more. I'm not much of a techie, let me be honest. For the record, I am a chemical engineer by excuse me, by education. I went to IIT Bombay, studied chemical engineering, and then went ahead and did very little chemical engineering. My professor was very disappointed with me for it, but always been a bit of a lazy fellow I am. And then, of course, I have an MBA in finance. These are some of my professional credentials, and I make use of those in my career as a professional coach, consultant, advisor, that kind of stuff. You might recognize some of these acronyms. I'm not going to bore you to death with details unless you want to know about them. And outside of work, most of my stuff is outside of work these days. I enjoy sports, all kinds of outdoor activities. I also enjoy trekking and mountaineering. I am not good at any of these. My theory is that you don't have to be good at things to like it. That's the kind of person I am. In fact, if there is no pressure to be good at, I like it even more. And also, for the record, I do spend about 50% of my time volunteering for social causes. I believe it's a good thing to do. Everybody should do a bit of volunteering. And even when I do volunteer, I volunteer as an advisor in project management. So I make use of agile methods and scheduling and all the project management stuff that I otherwise do in my professional career. So I think that's good enough for a small, short introduction for now. And let's get back to living in an uncertain environment. By the way, if you have any question, comment, you can quickly unmute and speak. We are a small enough audience that we can do that. Or you may make use of chat. I will keep an eye on the chat as we go. You don't have to wait till the end for Q&A. If you find something that you want to comment on, in fact, I will be asking you to comment on, feel free to do that. So uncertainty comes in various shapes and forms. In fact, there is a very interesting acronym. Many of you might have heard about this. It's called VUCA. Almost sounds like some tribal war cry of some kind. VUCA. Volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. Now let's make sure we understand what all this means for us. What is volatility according to you? Anybody? Volatility. I studied a little bit of chemical engineering, but I would like to know what is your understanding of volatility in the context of what we do. There is a question I saw on Q&A by Swaranjit. Is PMP even relevant today? Because most companies are looking for technical project managers. So that's a very good question. if you will permit me, I'll address it towards the end. I am going to talk about what does all this mean for us as project manager. That's a fantastic question. I will address that. But what is volatility? I'm still looking for an answer to what is volatility. Anybody? It's okay to take a guess. Volatility to me is what is there now may not be there just a short while from now. It may not stay this way forever, not stable. Thank you, Vijay. Volatility means that it is very, very uncertain. Chat box is disabled. How is that right? Do you know, Hardika or whoever is the host, why is chat disabled and how can I enable for everyone? Anyway, so we'll let the host deal with this. Volatility means that things are very, very unstable. What is there right now may not be there even a few minutes later. So that is true definitely of today's world. Uncertainty means risk. Risk could be positive as in opportunities, negative as in threats, but there is a lot of uncertainty. We don't know what's going to happen. Today we feel the dollar is going to become stronger. Tomorrow we feel it's going to become weaker. Whether you want it to become strong or weak determines whether it's an opportunity or a threat or both in some cases. So that's uncertainty for you. Complexity means it's very hard to figure out what is going on. And so much to process that it's very difficult for a layman like me, especially non-technical person like me, to figure out what's going on. And ambiguity is that same observation may lead to different conclusions. So it's there in front of us, all of us seeing the same thing. We all come up with different interpretations of this. Let me see if there is a simple setting for enabling chat. Can't see it if there is. It's always very interesting that technical challenges invariably do crop up in no matter how hard you try. But anyway, so today's world is characterized by these four things. So further, what is happening today is that we are very close to very adverse economic conditions. Now, some of you have been around a long time, I'm sure. But if you have been around long enough, you would have been witness to the dot-com bust in 2001, coming right after Y2K, when a lot of money was spent on IT and upgrading IT for a problem which was either real or imagined or some combination. So then it was followed inevitably by the burst of the bubble. It was very painful, especially in the technology sector. Some of you might remember the subprime crisis, when financial meltdown, Lehman Brothers, a lot of financial institutions going through a lot of pain, leading to big problems all around the world. You all know the COVID meltdown, very recent, 2020 lockdown, supply chains disrupted, and technology sort of did okay, but the physical, the industries which require physical presence and physical movement of goods really, really suffered. So what's going to happen in 23 is the question. Depending upon whom you ask, you will get different answers. But some things to remember or understand in the context of what's happening. Supply chains are under severe stress. Again, for various reasons, COVID started it. But then after that, there have been shortages because of production disruptions at different places. Suddenly, it seems as though the connectedness of the global economy is not such a good thing after all, because something goes wrong in Taiwan or China or some other part of the world and it affects supply chains all over. ship gets stuck in the Suez Canal and everything else comes to a grinding halt. So maybe just in time global sourcing is, people are starting to question whether those are really good things or not. Interest rates are high, partly because inflation is very high in the developed economies. I was seeing a chart the other day. It's one of those very, very rare events, once in a century event, where inflation in India is probably lower than in most of the Western world. And that's not happened in recent memory, at least. And we thought it would be a passing phenomenon because COVID led to a lot of government supporting industry and people, and a lot of cash doleouts, not backed up by production. So inflation to some extent was inevitable, but it has been sticking around for a long time. There's no telling yet when it will start to taper off and then banks can start reducing rates. China slowdown. China's grown at tremendous pace and has been the manufacturing engine of the world. And now, because of COVID and various other reasons, there seems to be an imminent slowdown. And of course, we all know about war and how that has affected. And for one reason or the other, there are a few economies that are not doing well at all. Like we saw Sri Lanka going through a lot of pain, another one of our neighbor going through a lot of pain. And whether this is isolated because of local factors or whether this contagion will spread, only time will tell. Whether there'll be a recession or not, I don't know. I'm not an economist, not an expert. But there have been big tech layoffs in the technology sector. There was a hand raised. Are you able to unmute? I forgot who raised the hand. Now, was it Vijay? Let me see if I can allow you to talk. Do you want to say something, Vijay? I saw a hand raised.
No, actually, I did not raise my hands.
Okay. Somebody else did. I can't see it anymore. Who raised the hands? Oh, Swaranjit. Okay. Are you able to speak? Let me see if I can do something. Yes, go ahead now. I think you should be able to unmute.
Yes, sir. Now able to. Sir, the chat is disabled, sir. Can you please check on that, sir? Will be helpful to put on the comments link.
Yeah, I'm not an expert in Zoom. Do you know how to do it? I don't know. I tried the normal settings, which I know, but I don't know why, for what reason it is disabled. Let me check if my... Let me try one more thing. Give me a minute. I don't know honestly why chat is disabled. Sorry, maybe we just have to make do with Q&A for now. Was there anything else you wanted to say, Swaranjit?
No, sir. This works, sir. Like if you can unmute and we can ask questions simultaneously, works for us. Sir.
Okay, very good. I apologize. I'm not honestly a Zoom expert, and I thought it should be easy, but for some reason it's not allowing me to enable. Okay. Because of big layoffs especially in technology, but not only in technology, other sectors also. In fact, most knowledge industries going through a bit of pain, except maybe healthcare, which seems to be doing very well. And typically the heat will come in the middle management, which all of us know is a very easy soft target for management. to go after because they are well entrenched and they are perceived as not technical enough and not contributing to production and only being bureaucratic. So there is going to be some heat, and some of us may already be feeling it. Then there is this belief that somehow these chat GPT and other AI platforms will make middle management and any kind of management redundant, that you don't need anybody to write emails or communicate with clients, and somehow AI is going to take care of that, or at least automate so much of it that you only need very few managers. So net, there is a lot of survey and data being done. 2/3 of economists feel that 2023 will see some emerging recession, and therefore all of this pain is considered to be somewhat imminent at this point in time. So we need to be ready for it. Whether it happens or not, economists haven't always been right. Whether we have to be prepared for it. So what does it mean for project managers? Well, we have to upskill ourselves, make ourselves relevant in the world. Now, what does that mean? So there was a question a short while ago on Q&A that many organizations are expecting, and this is also not a new phenomenon necessarily, that they are expecting project managers to be more technical, more hands-on. And this is especially true of technology companies, knowledge-oriented companies. A project manager should know how to do coding, how to do core engineering, troubleshoot processes, engineering processes. To some extent, I do believe project managers are required to do that. In fact, long ago, when I studied for PMP exam, there used to be a chart, project management skill set. Let me show you what it used to look like. It's not there in the PMBOK guide anymore, but it said something like this. It drew a Venn diagram. To be a good project manager, what do you need to do? And the top was project management skills. Then this was general management skill. And then this was technology or domain area. So let's understand this. General management skills is like communication, team management, motivation, ability to influence without authority, general understanding of the business, how it works. General management, anything that you can do an MBA on is general management, I guess. Finance. Technology domain area, to some extent, you need to have. And if you think of project manager, this circle, it includes, you need to have some general management and some technology. It doesn't mean you have to be the expert. So I would take that with a pinch of salt. Yes, if I'm managing a project in the artificial intelligence and machine learning space, then I need to understand what that means. If I'm managing a project in the construction space or the banking and finance space, I need to understand that. But I don't have to be an expert. I don't have to be a banker. To some extent, project manager has to be a bit of a generalist. But the big part of project manager's role is still project management. And so you need to be good at that. That's my view, at least. Companies will give whatever spin on it that they want. Especially tech companies will give more of a technology spin to it. But at the heart of it, why you are there is because you can manage projects and you can deliver outcomes for the business. And that should be the core of my focus. So when I say upskill, it is more from the perspective of upskilling yourself in project management, because that still is relevant. And there is a lot of space in project management. I believe that you can find meaningful career in project management. Of course, you have to be prepared for uncertainty. Gone are the days when there used to be stigma attached to being fired or being made redundant or irrelevant. I mean, there's no need for us to be defensive about it. some amount of uncertainty we have to be prepared for. And that could mean anything from having a war chest, financial war chest that you can live with 3 to 6 months of being jobless. For example, as a consultant, I had no work for about 6 months in the COVID time frame. Luckily, I also have an MBA in finance, so I have a big enough war chest that it would have lasted even 2 years, it wouldn't have made a difference to me. So everybody needs to develop that. Yeah, and there's no running away from it. I would in fact go the opposite direction to what I think Swaranjit was saying short while ago. I would say you have to become somewhat domain neutral. If I'm working for a software company, they want me to be good at software and technology platforms and coding, testing, whatever. But yes, I know. But in fact, I want to make myself relevant across the world. That, for my selfish reasons, I want to do that. Is there a problem with it? I don't think. Yes, sir. Swaranjit, you want to say something?
Sir, like a person like me who is coming from a technical side with 10 years of experience, I'm interested towards a management side. So I will be mostly looking out towards an IT side, the project management roles. So in that way, if I have to look out outside my boundaries, like IT, so definitely won't that be quite difficult for me moving towards a healthcare domain or something like that as a generic project manager?
It will not be like an automatic switch, but it's not unheard of. For example, I mean, to some extent, I understand the hesitation. I mean, I'm a chemical engineer. I worked in the IT industry, but I also worked in telecom. I also worked in pharmaceutical, and I also worked in agrochemicals and energy. So switching domains is not trivial. I don't want to make it sound like it's like switch of a button. But as a project manager, you are still relevant everywhere. I'll tell you a little story. It's a slightly funny story. When I got married, I have an arranged marriage. So I knew my wife, but she didn't know me before marriage. And so for her, it was even more strange to get married to me. We come from a very religious family. So one of my first trips with my wife was on a pilgrimage with half my family in tow as well. And so we were going around the city of Haridwar. You might have heard about that place, wonderful place. And we were going around town, and we hired an auto rickshaw to see all the different places, the ghats, and it's a beautiful town. Auto driver started chatting with us. Sir, aap kahan se aaye? Where do you come from? I'm from Pune. Very good. I like Pune. I've been to Pune as well. I like the Ganesh festival and this and that. So he's very chatty, very friendly fellow. And then he asked me, what do you do? At that time, I was working for a software company as a project manager. And I said, I work in IT. Half expecting that he won't understand. This is year 2000 we are talking about. To my surprise, he said, sir, I am also from IT industry. Auto driver, IT industry, I'm trying to make a connection. And he starts chatting. He said, I used to work for Patni Computers. I was in Bombay and I was working on VAX VMS operating systems, names of computers, which even I have not heard of. He started telling me. And I'm thinking, what is this guy doing driving an auto? And that to a very old, decrepit, about to break down auto, the old-fashioned autos. And he himself volunteered the information. He said, I was part of this team which was doing quality analysis for punched cards. Some of you in the technology space may be familiar with punch cards. You can now see it in Discovery Channel, documentaries. These were input-output devices in very, very old mainframe computers. So he used to do that. And he said, when the new devices came in, I didn't enjoy it much. He said, specifically, Hindi word was, maja nahi aaya usme. So whether he did not enjoy, whether he became obsolete, he said, now I'm here. I'm in my hometown. This is my vehicle. I like life here. This is good. And my wife was sitting there, just recently married to somebody whom she hardly knew. and she's thinking this is the career progression for IT people. And she was a little bit silent the whole day. And then I told her this, exactly what I'm going to tell you now, that look, as a project manager, I am still relevant. People still need to do projects and project management. If I know how to make good schedules, if I know how to prepare budgets, if I know how to link project activities to business outcomes, if I know how to lead a team, motivate them, engage stakeholders, set realistic expectations, all the 10 knowledge areas of project management, I can manage projects anywhere. And today, for example, I mean, tomorrow I'm going for a program, concluding program of water management in villages, micro level water management project running for 4 years. The program ran for 4 years. What do I know about water management? Nothing. It's about deep, geology, groundwater, watershed development economics. I knew nothing. Of course, I had to put in effort to learn, but I don't have to be an expert geologist who can understand and interpret groundwater recharge terminology. I can get experts to do that, but I need to understand the concept. And if you do that, I see no reason why you can't be relevant across domains. It's a very long answer to your question, but I think it's sort of relevant. Companies will say, no, you have to be technical. You need to know how to do coding, and you need to solve every problem that comes. You have to be there. That's for their selfish reason. You have to think of your career, what you want to do. And I am saying it's good to be a somewhat domain neutral, because technology changes very rapidly. Unless you enjoy being technical, by all means be technical. But if you want to be on the management side, you have to be more domain neutral. Certification helps. There is data that PMI keeps talking about all the time, that the difference between certified project manager salary and a non-certified project management salary is 16%. That's what their latest survey says. Certification also gives you validation for your methods. That when you say something, I need to prepare a schedule and this is how I need to prepare it. I'm not saying it of a whim and a fancy. I know because I've gone through this process and this is how it is done worldwide. Also helps you connected with a network. As a certified manager or certified anything, there is a network. It could be certified cloud engineer or certified project manager. Networking is very, very powerful. So if I were to summarize in one slide what I'm saying, how you need to become relevant in the current environment, there are 3 words. One is resilience. Resilience means being prepared for uncertainties. That's what I said. Climate resilient agriculture. We are talking about climate resilient agriculture as the next big development project. Even we are starting to train farmers how they can make their crops resilient to climate change. Adverse climatic events are becoming very, very frequent. Catastrophic flooding, droughts, very long droughts, extreme temperatures, unseasonal rains, unseasonal cloudy weather. How can you build crop strategies which are resilient? Similarly, how can you make your career resilient to changes in the environment? That's where things like becoming bit domain neutral comes in. You need to have focus. Very often people try to do too many things at a time. And this also, organizations sort of drive it towards you. They make you too busy. Is that fair to say? Being too busy is not a good thing. In fact, there is a very well-known management thinker. His name is Sumantra Ghoshal. Unfortunately, he is no more. One of his very famous lines that stuck with me for a long time is that busyness is the central hazard for modern business. Think about this a little. Being excessively busy is dangerous for modern business, because if you are busy, too busy, you can't think and then you become like robots, machines who will do what your management is telling you. And one fine day they will find, I don't need this machine, off you go. But that's not good for you. You have to make yourself less busy, find ways of doing that. So that comes by focusing on few things. You don't have to take up volunteer for every initiative in the organization. And lastly, I want to point out agility. When I say agility, it means agility in every sense. Agility in the sense of being aware of agile methods of project management, and also agility in terms of being flexible, adaptable to changing circumstances. Both of those are relevant in the modern world. So that's what I would like to pause a little bit at the moment. Any questions, comments, anything that you want to bring up at this point before I go to the concluding section? We can do the Q&A and discussion now, and then I'll quickly close in about 5 minutes after that. Anything anybody want to bring up? You can just raise your hand or say something through pause for your question. I'll even unmute you if you want to speak. Yes, Saranjit, go ahead.
Sir, like I am planning to move towards a project management side. I am from a normal engineering college. I do have 10 years of IT experience, but the problem comes here is like I means like I am ASM, PSM, PSPO certified. I am now confused like which side to move, either to PMP or PMI ACP side. Because like most of the things are moving towards the agile when considering towards the IT thing. So that's, and also post completion of the certification, how I will be able to look out for my first job into a project management role, because like I've been working towards the technical sides. My present organization won't be considering my certification to that extent. So at a future, if I'm looking outside, so how that company is gonna consider me? Please.
If you already have ASM and PSM, ASM is X in ASM, you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Then I don't think PMI ACP is much of a value add, unless of course you want to become an agile coach or lead agile transitions in the organization. That's my personal view. ACP is a fantastic certification. I've done it. I've also done ASM. And ACP is great learning even above ASM level. But unless you want to specialize in agile and pick up one of the agile roles or lead agile transitions, become agile coach, I would say better still to do a generic project management certification, because that will give you a full gamut of project management. What I feel about agile certifications, yes, I understand agility and understand why agile is important. I am myself an agile coach. But sometimes agilists tend to live in a blinkered world. They tend to ignore or want to deliberately ignore everything else that is going on. I don't think waterfall predictive methods are still out of fashion. They are relevant for a reason. They are still going to be relevant for a long time. So while agility is good, you still need good, solid project management skills, scheduling, budgeting, tracking. So I would still recommend project management certification, especially if you already have agile certifications under your belt. That's my personal opinion.
Sure, sir. And regarding the job opportunity for the first company looking out for, that is what like.
Shouldn't be too difficult if you have done project management certifications or done project management work to find job opportunities. If not, another fantastic way of finding early jobs is to volunteer and do voluntary work for either an open source project somewhere or anything, any cause that appeals to you. Just volunteer and say, this is what I've done and this is the project. People do recognize voluntary experience these days, especially multinationals do.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
There's a question in Q&A from Syed. Syed's question is, don't you think although project management is the same everywhere, if you have relevant experience, it will be better? Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with that question. In fact, that's the reason why I put up this picture, that yes, if you do have domain and relevant domain expertise, it will help. So there is part of project management which does require that. If you don't have it, you have to make an effort to get it. So I totally agree with you. If you have relevant experience in the domain, it is better. Even as a project manager, it is better. Very good. Anybody else, anything you want to bring up at this point before I go to the concluding section? All right, no worries. I'll pause again after some time. In the meantime, let me just go through the concluding rituals. So a little bit about ProThoughts. ProThoughts is into a variety of areas. I don't want to be this to be a marketing slide or presentation, just for you to let you know. There are quite a few offerings around trainings, exam simulation for certifications, and even relevant publications. If you are thinking about PMP, then there is some data points here for you. I told you that median salary is higher for certified PMPs, more than 1 million certified PMPs worldwide, and lots of opportunities in project management. Still, much as people feel that middle management will be under stress, there are quite a few new projects that will always be required, and therefore project management will not go out of fashion anytime soon. So the PMP exam has changed recently, some of you might be aware, and there's much more standardized content delivered by authorized training partners. Needless to say, ProThoughts is an authorized training partner. So training material has been standardized, especially for ATPs. So it's no longer that we prepare, PMI supplies the material, we simply deliver. And therefore, there is more standardization in terms of delivery, and it leads to greater success rate also, because we are closer aligned to what PMI themselves say is in the exam. And what else? You are already in the webinar, so you know that there are regular webinars conducted every month. So do visit this site for interesting topics that keep coming up. And you can follow on social media as well.